morning, everyone. This is Doug Davis, broker in charge with Karambi Realty, and I'm here today with Jim Schmit, local architect in Hawaii on Oahu. Been in business for a very long time.
Over 50 years.
Oh my goodness. Involved with what, 600 homes built?
Projects.
More or less, projects.
Some of them are shopping centers and so on.
Has a wealth of experience, and one of our biggest problems today with the permit process is that it's taking such an incredibly long time, and it's making it so it's unaffordable for so many people. This, it might take over a year in some instances to get a permit for building your home. So Jim has a solution or two, and he's going to talk about that today. And there's a law that was passed how long ago?
1998.
Oh my goodness, that allows for an auto permit.
Or
Yeah,
automatic approval.
automatic approval. So Jim, why don't you tell us what's delaying it now and what's a probable solution?
Can you move that little hand off of your face on the screen there? Thank you. I was distracted. First thing is what Doug said about the problem that's plaguing permits is it is a problem for the entire construction industry as far as residential construction goes. It's not just affecting how long an owner has to wait for his permit. It's contractors are not able to get permits for their jobs. Everything is just like at a standstill. If you're in business, building residential projects, and that's where our need is affordable residential projects. Right now you're at a standstill. So everybody's been trying to do things to correct it, and the Department of Planning and Permitting has been pursuing all different kinds of ways to do it. And I felt really bad because, and I mentioned this in one of our last meetings, that I've been using this automatic approval process for 20 years. And I've done probably 30 or 40 houses under the automatic approval process. And I keep asking my friends, why don't you do this? And everybody says, well, it's the liability. And it's actually not, because you're just as liable as an architect. When you put your stamp on a drawing, you become liable for that project all the way through completion. And in fact, after completion, you never get rid of that responsibility. And if the building department makes a mistake, it's the owner's and the architect's responsibility, not the building department's. They don't accept responsibility for mistakes. And that's fine. I don't have a problem with that. That doesn't slow anything down. But the way the auto approval is supposed to work is that, and again, let me go back a little bit to where this came from. Back in 1998, there was a kind of an overall state policy that I think was mandated by the federal government, and then it went to the state, and then it went to the city. But it was a requirement that every agency that issues a permit for anything, doesn't matter if it's a liquor license or a driver's license or whatever it is, if you issue a permit, you have to give the state in advance, in writing, an amount of time that you're willing to say, if I don't finish it in this much time, the permit will be automatically approved. And it's all very specific, and it's all documented. And it used to be online, and you used to be able to go and get your automatic approval form online. And then something happened in the processing, and they took it off of the website, and they hid it from the public, and we don't know who did it. We have our suspicions as to who it was, and but it's not there anymore. You can't find it anymore. Well, luckily, I don't ever throw anything away, especially anything digital. And like I have, can you see my phone there? Oh, no, it just disappeared. Okay, I have 86,000 photos on my phone. And I can show you any one of my 600 projects in the construction phase and in the completion phase and at the parties afterwards. It's like, I don't throw things away. So consequently, I never threw away any of the information that I had done a lot of research on, following it back to its origin on the automatic approval process. And back in the old days when Art Jallicum was still there and a lot of other people with a lot of experience knew the process, and there was no problem with implementing it. Well, those people are all gone now, and there's new people in place, and nobody seems to know about it anymore, and you can't find it online. So I was like reaping the benefits of having my clients get their permits in a reasonable period of time for a number of years, which was very nice for me, but I always felt guilty that, you know, I wasn't able to really share it with the community because I was afraid there would be a backlash and that I would stop being able to use it because they put a stop to it because it was effective. And so that didn't happen, but what did happen was COVID came along and someone at the building department took these things offline. And I had a client who was running out of time getting his permit to build a house that he and his family were going to live in. And we had demolished the house. We got a demo permit for it and demolished the house. And we were in process on our plan. And it was getting more and more difficult. They have a large family and they're in a rental house waiting to move into their house of their dreams. And luckily it was a husband and wife lawyer. And so consequently what happened was I dug through my records and I got all my records on automatic approval and I shared it with them. And they sent their staff to work researching it and found out that, in fact, I was right. Everything was exactly like I said it was. Everything was still in place. Everything was still the law. The building department was obligated to abide by this law. And he wrote a letter to the director saying, we're sorry it's come to this, but you know, it's with all the problems that you're having with permitting, we felt like we can't afford to wait for you guys to sort it out. So we're going to sort it out for you and use the automatic approval process. And you have already used up all of the time you're allowed, and therefore our permit is automatically approved. And sent that in, and DPP basically went through the process of denying that it was real, but then eventually got to the point where they said, okay, it's real. And he got his permit. And that was late fall last year. We've used it again one more time. I've got another house that's in permit that we got the permit in February. So it's still working. And Doug had asked me about this in one of these little Zoom meetings a while ago. And I hinted at this auto approval thing. And I said, I really don't want to go blabbing the secret out there without letting DPP know that, you know, that I want everyone to know this. And so since then, we've met with the deputy director and shared all this information with her, and a group of architects from the AIA, which I do not belong to because I've had a feeling that it was a social club that did nothing. And they've changed my opinion on that now because they've made an attempt to also deal with the automatic approval process. And I gave them all the information that I had, and they met with the director, and the director said it was okay. So we've accomplished the point of getting that out there, and now I'm sharing it here on Doug's program, which probably isn't going to get enough viewers to really make an impact. But if everyone who sees this tells their friends there's an automatic approval process that you can use for your permit, pretty soon that information will spread and we'll be moving forward.
So let me ask you this. So if you had a vacant lot and you had the blueprints drawn up and ready, you submit them, say the 1st of April, don't they try to like bounce it back and say you didn't put in this,
yes,
this line, this, and to delay the start of it? Or, and what if your blueprints aren't perfect according to DPP?
Well, that's a problem for me if I can't make my blueprints perfect.
So you have to
I don't have any doubt that I can make my plans perfect. So that's not a problem for me. But what is a problem is that they don't trust architects in general to provide perfect plans, which is reasonable because there are a lot
There's
of,
always good and bad.
yeah,
Sure.
it's just like any other profession. Half of the people in that profession are below average. That's all there is to it. And they're probably not capable of doing perfect plans. Half of them are.
So if it bounces back, does that delay the auto approval?
It delays everything, because what they've done, and this is my next goal, the next windmill that I'm going to charge at, is the pre-check. Because right now they've created this process called pre-check, and their intentions were good. But again, there are unintended consequences of what they're trying to do. They wanted to try and force people into making better plans so that there would be less of a delay with people who weren't making good plans. And I really don't have sympathy for anybody who's not making good plans. That's all there is to it. I don't see that we should all be punished because someone out there can't do their job right. I think those of us who can do our jobs right should not be penalized for that. And what the problem there is that most organizations that are politically based, and that means that the mayor gets elected and the mayor appoints the head of DPP, and the head of DPP who's appointed is not necessarily appointed because he's the most qualified to do the job, but he is in the category that he can be trusted by everyone to at least learn the job and do the job well. But that being said, it's by instituting this pre-check process, they've taken all permits and put them into one pile, all applications for permits. Now, the automatic approval process starts based on the assumption that when you submit your permit for an application, that it's accepted as a submittal. That doesn't happen anymore. Now, your perfect set of plans is sitting in the pile along with the imperfect plans. Your demo permit is in the pile with your construction permit. Your construction permit for your house that you're going to live in is in the same pile as a 1,500 unit subdivision, and the same pile as a high rise, and the same pile as a gas station.
Like I just did a permit for a backflow.
Yeah, backflow preventer permit, right?
A pipe that took 4 or 5 hours to install. That took
months to get permits.
It took a long time. It's
So-
just a pipe.
So the bottom line is, my next challenge is, I think that, and again, this all falls back to automatic approval, and automatic approval falls back to, if you don't have confidence in your abilities as an architect, don't sign it. But if you do have confidence in your ability, sign it. And as an owner, I tell my clients, you should sign it, because if everyone in the team fails, you're left holding the bag. You are going to ultimately be responsible if everyone else who works for you fails. So you should sign the document saying, you and I, your architect, will be responsible to build to code. Every time I stamp a drawing and I say, this will be under my supervision, I am saying I will build to code. It's like if there's a law that says I can't break into my neighbor's house, I don't have to sign a document saying I won't break into your house. It's still the law, whether I sign a document saying I won't do it. And if I do sign that document, it doesn't make me any less likely to break into his house than if I don't sign that document. So the whole concept is, it just is not making sense. So the other thing that happens with pre-check is, and it happens with e-filing, because you're not allowed to go in on paper anymore. E-filing has its own thing where, and they're all typo protections. It stops you from having typographic errors in your plans, like misspellings and things like that, because it's reviewed by a computer now. And if your PDF name isn't exactly the same as the name that is written on the block on your drawing, and isn't exactly the same as on your cover sheet that has your index of drawings, if all three of those things aren't exactly the same, the computer goes, aha, caught you. Fix this before I take your plans in. And it's like it's an objective type of response. It's not subjective. We don't have very, very many people. There aren't very many people working in government who are capable of making a subjective decision. This is something that you have to be able to say, this is good and this is bad. And there's virtually no way of putting that into an objective law, unless it'd be 100 pages long of the entire art history of why architecture has to be the way it is in order to get someone to objectively say it's a good project or a bad project. It's not a good project or a bad project because of how big it is. You can have a really great big project. This gets into the monster house thing. And that's another episode.
We spoke of that.
But in order to do automatic approval, number one, you're saying, I'm confident that my plans don't need to be pre-checked. I'm submitting plans that will pass pre-check.
So pre-check might take months and months and months.
Right now, it's taking 4 or 5 months, and we still haven't gotten through the pre-check.
And do you have to get through the pre-check in order to do the auto approval?
Yes, because before pre-check is finished, they won't send my plans to the Board of Water Supply, and they won't send my plans to wastewater, because auto approval is based on the outside agencies that are not DPP plan check. Those agencies have to sign off first. Now they can't sign off if they're not given the plans. And it's much simpler for Board of Water Supply to sign off and wastewater to sign off than it is for a plan checker to sign off. So if they won't give them the plans, I can't get to auto approval. And my next step to try and get the pre-check removed for people who are going to submit auto approval, we're saying we're already pre-qualified because we're not afraid to stick our neck on the chopping block. That's it. We're not afraid of that at all because we're confident in our abilities. And that means you don't have to pre-check it. You don't have to waste the public's money paying someone to check my plans for whether or not I've got a typo. It doesn't make any sense. And it's going to happen, and it's probably going to happen within the next 2 weeks. It's already happened that the auto approval is available. And
since 1990.
98, I know, but it's been reinitiated. It's still probably not online. You're still probably not able to find it, but it is there. And if there's a way I can put it online, I'll put it online. But I'm not sure what that is. Maybe I have to get a separate web page for hidden codes, but some way it's going to get out there. I'm planning to get the AIA has been involved in this now, but only with the 3 people that I know. And I don't think that this has been published to AIA members. My next step is to try and convince the AIA to publish this to all of its members. And my step after that is to get the Building Industry Association, the BIA, to give it to all contractors, and they'll give it to all owners. And pretty soon everyone will know about it. And it's a backwards way of doing things, but that's life in the big city.
And it costs so much money for people to have to wait. So your example, the people were in a rental house, renting a house, and they haven't even started hammering a single nail.
Right.
And they're paying $3,000, $4,000, $5,000 a month in rental with their family. Some people buy vacant lots and then they have mortgages running for a year before they can even start construction.
That's right.
So it makes it's just going to be fewer houses.
Yeah. So what happens? What happens when that situation occurs is people start building without a permit. They don't sign a document saying they'll be responsible. They recognize that their permit fee, which may be $5,000, is going to turn into $15,000. They're going to pay a $10,000 penalty. Well, that's 2 months of a rental for a family of 6. You start, and if you get fined, you're still saving 2 months of rent that you're not going to have to pay because you've been working for 2 months already. So people are more than willing to pay that fine. And as a matter of fact, if the building department wanted to just say, if you want to get into the head of the line, you pay an extra $10,000 and we'll put you at the head of the line. There's probably some political reason why that's not popular, but it's it would work because the people who are being held up are willing to pay that extra money.
Well, it would save them money.
Yeah. And so what happens instead is you've got a bunch of things that are built without permits, and there are going to be so many of them that the city and county is going to never catch up. And so the way to do it is get somebody to take responsibility by having the owner and the architect sign for the automatic approval. It's it all seems so obvious to me that, you know, I just don't understand why I'm sitting here yet again giving this little speech on my soapbox here.
Since 1998, by
Since
the
19
way.
Yeah, and it's helped me enormously, you know. And what happens, you know, Doug saying that people have got this place where they're paying for the land before they can even move in. Even more important to that, some people have teenage children who are waiting to move into the house of their dreams because they've been involved with their architect on designing their little room in their universe in their parents' house. And before they get in that house, they've gone off to college and now they never live in the house. You know, so it's a lot more involved than just financially. By slowing down this process, there are people who miss out on the experience of living in an architect designed house that shouldn't. So
Boy, give Jim a cup of coffee and he's rolling there. Okay.
yes, I could go on for hours.
Well, it sums it up very nicely, and I get it, and that's certainly a great solution, and it's been sitting there on the table for too long.
Yeah.
So, well, thank you, Jim.
My pleasure.
Great topic, and hope people can use this to their advantage. And if you can't figure it out, Jim knows. Maybe you could do your blueprints.
And I'll figure out some way to pass this information on to anybody who wants it.
Yeah, very good. All right, well, thanks for that. Keep your questions coming, hoping this was interesting and valuable to you if you're in that aspect of the real estate market. Okay, until next week, appreciate your listening. Thank you.
Bye.